Have you ever wondered what it would feel like if your pilots decided to experiment mid-flight? To try things they normally wouldn't do, just to see how the plane really reacts? Sounds thrilling, right? But what if I told you that this kind of experiment could quickly spiral into a nightmare, not just for the pilots, but for anyone on board? Stick around, because what happened on Air France Flight 1414 will make you question everything you thought you knew about air travel safety. The calm before the storm. It was the evening of March 28, 2017. Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport was calm, with only light winds brushing across the runway. Air France Flight 1414 was preparing for its final flight of the day, a short hop over to Zurich, Switzerland. The Airbus A318 waiting on the tarmac was almost empty, carrying only 35 passengers. On board, the mood was typical. Cabin crew greeting travelers with smiles, pilots briefing each other quietly in the cockpit. The captain, 51 years old, had been with Air France since 1999 and had logged an impressive 9,500 flight hours. He had commanded the Airbus A320 family since 2008 and had accumulated about 6,700 hours specifically on this aircraft type. His first officer, a 36-year-old pilot, had joined Air France in 2008 and had spent almost all of his 5,500 hours on the same Airbus family. Now, here's an interesting detail. While their friendship helped them work seamlessly together, it also had a hidden risk. In aviation, there's something called the authority gradient. Normally, the captain has the final say, but being friends can soften this line. A first officer might hesitate to question the captain, even if something seems off. In high-pressure situations, the hesitation can be dangerous. The light aircraft challenge. With the checklist completed and passengers boarding, the pilots noticed something unusual. The Airbus was nearly empty. Normally, these aircraft are designed to handle close to full passenger capacity. Flying light might seem like a blessing, but it comes with complications. For pilots, this is thrilling but tricky. Normally, pilots use something called flex temperature to limit engine thrust. It reduces stress on the engines and makes the takeoff more manageable. But on this night, the pilots decided to do something unusual. They would take off at full thrust, just to see how the aircraft would respond. The first experiment, as the plane rolled down the runway, the first officer rotated the aircraft, lifting the nose just as in any standard takeoff. But because the engines were producing maximum thrust and the plane was light, it began to climb faster than usual. The flight director, the instrument guiding the pilots, stopped indicating a higher pitch at 18 degrees. Still, the first officer continued to pull back, trying to maintain his familiar climb speed. Within seconds, the plane's pitch rose to 24.6 degrees, far above normal takeoff procedures. At this point, Airbus' advanced fly-by-wire system kicked in. The plane's nose-up protections were activated. Then, a system called Alpha Floor Protection briefly engaged. This system is designed to prevent stalls when a plane loses lift due to excessive nose-up attitude. For a split second, the aircraft essentially took control to protect itself. The pilots likely didn't notice it immediately. Despite the warnings and protections, the flight continued. The takeoff was successful. The plane climbed to cruising altitude, and after a short flight, it landed safely in Zurich. On the surface, nothing seemed wrong, but the pilots knew something unusual had happened, something worth investigating. Curiosity turns risky. 2 days later, the same pilots were scheduled for a ferry flight, a flight with no passengers, from Toulouse back to Paris. This time, they would be flying an Airbus A321, a larger aircraft than the A318 they had flown previously. The captain and first officer saw this as a perfect opportunity, another full-thrust takeoff with an empty aircraft. They could recreate the strange behavior they had seen and explore the aircraft's limits without passenger comfort being an issue. From a learning perspective, it seemed reasonable, but there's a catch. These maneuvers, done outside of standard procedures, had hidden dangers, especially in uncontrolled airspace. The flight of the empty jet. The Airbus A321 taxied to runway 14, left in Toulouse. Engines stabilized, systems checked. Everything seemed normal. Then, at 17:52 local time, the captain pushed the thrust levers to slash gay, maximum takeoff thrust. The empty aircraft surged forward with incredible speed. As the captain rotated, the aircraft climbed steeply. At first, the nose was pitched at 17 degrees, but the acceleration continued to climb toward 24 degrees, and the sidestick input went beyond 14 degrees, once again triggering alpha floor protection. The climb was aggressive, rapid, almost reckless, but the aircraft was still within structural limits. The pilots had essentially created a jet-powered roller coaster in the sky. Unintended consequences. But here's where things took a more alarming turn. The pilots continued climbing and leveling off at flight level 100, about 10,000 feet. They intentionally kept the engines at climb thrust, causing the aircraft to accelerate rapidly to 350 knots. Then, exchanging speed for altitude, the plane shot upward at a staggering rate of over 15,000 feet per minute. Traffic Collision Avoidance System, TCAS, in that aircraft detected the rapid ascent as a potential threat and issued warnings. Meanwhile, the Airbus TCAS didn't alert the pilots. Why? It automatically deactivates warnings for climb rates exceeding 10,000 feet per minute, assuming it's an emergency or an extreme takeoff scenario, neither of which the pilots realized they had triggered. Air traffic controllers noticed the extreme climb and called the pilots, asking them to reduce their rate of ascent. Only then did the aircraft stabilize and continue safely to Paris. Lessons learned the hard way. After landing at Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, the flight ended uneventfully, but the events raised serious questions. Although the plane never came close to danger, these maneuvers had exposed potential vulnerabilities. The pilots had pushed the aircraft outside standard operating procedures, activating systems that weren't meant to be triggered intentionally in normal flight. Human factors and friendship. Beyond the technical issues, this story also underscores the human side of aviation. The two pilots were close friends, and their camaraderie may have contributed to a false sense of security. In high-stakes environments, it's easy to overlook risks when working with someone you trust deeply. Authority gradients blur, caution softens, and what seems like a harmless test can escalate unexpectedly. A narrow escape, lessons for all. Fortunately, Flight 1414 and the ferry flight ended safely, leaving only data and lessons behind. The incident served as a case study in human factors, aircraft systems, and the dangers of experimentation at altitude. Even experienced crews must respect the limits of their aircraft, the rules of aviation, and the invisible safety systems that protect everyone in the sky. So next time you board a flight, remember this: the pilots in the cockpit aren't just flying. They are managing complex systems, human factors, and split-second decisions that could make or break a journey. Flight 1414 is a reminder of just how thin the line between curiosity and catastrophe can be. If you found this video fascinating and a little terrifying, make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment sharing what you would do if you were on a flight where your pilots decided to push the limits. There's so much to learn from these incidents, and understanding them can make us appreciate the incredible safety systems keeping us airborne. Until next time, keep your seatbelts fastened, because the skies can be unpredictable, and sometimes the safest place is right where you are, in your seat, watching the horizon.